Well, I see that Evan Rachel Wood is capitalizing on the tragic, unexpected death of a friend of hers by pointing out that friend's association with Marilyn Manson. So some of you might remember that in 2021, on the same day, all of these different allegations came out against Manson. These accusers posting all of their allegations on their Instagram. Certainly the most credible way of making allegations against someone. And one of those accusers, and I'm not going to mention her name now, she came out backing her friends and backing people like Evan Rachel Wood. But of course, now that this friend has tragically, unexpectedly died, Evan Rachel Wood is parading around on Instagram, trying to focus everyone's attention on the link between her friend and, of course, Marilyn Manson. You know, I'm just really tired. I gotta say, Evan, what is the end game on this? This whole thing has gone flaccid like a flaccid dick. Because when this thing first started, when all you ladies were out of the gate with all this bullshit, I know like it had a real power, a real feeling of power to it, and a real feeling of like, wow, we're doing something, we're making waves, we're getting all this press. And then you had Phoenix Rising come out, got another round of press with that. But did you notice the result of your recent long-winded, kind of bizarre, kind of nutty appearances on A Little Bit Culty? Didn't really get any traction. And now that HBO is shutting down that show that you're on that is inexplicable and does not make any sense, you may be looking for other things to do. So I don't know if exploiting the tragic death of your friend is the way to do it. That's just a thought. Anyways, yeah, and you know, I have to say something else. Again, not mentioning this person's name, but another borderline, because this friend who is this friend of Evan Rachel Wood's and person who used to be associated with Marilyn Manson, guess what? It turns out one of her parents said online, you know, nowadays when people die, everybody has to go online and talk about it. I'm not sure why. It's really kind of gross. But I will say that I think her parents went online to try to refute what they thought were some lies that were going around about her. And I don't know the situation. But one of the things that this parents' post said is that this woman had recently gone into treatment for borderline personality disorder. So we got another borderline in the mix with all this stuff. Another diagnosed borderline. You know, and I'm thinking about another one of Marilyn Manson's accusers. One of the women who had accused Manson of just being a bad boyfriend. And if there are certain places, if you go on the internet, you'll see that some of Manson's haters have collected like basically all the gossip they could come up with. But they do have some quotes there, or one particular entry that an ex of Manson's, it doesn't sound like it was really even much of a girlfriend, it was someone who dated him for just a bit. But she had written an essay about how Marilyn Manson deceived her, and he told her that he loved her, but then it turns out that no, she was just another groupie or whatever, right? But one of the things that this person says in their posted article, one of the things that this person said is that Marilyn Manson was really understanding of her borderline personality disorder. So we got another borderline. And I hate to tell you, you know, but I think if we peeled back the veil on what's going on with a number of these accusers of Marilyn Manson, I'm pretty sure we're going to see a lot of borderline personality disorder. In fact, I'm pretty sure that the DSM, you know, the Psychiatric Diagnostic Manual, I think in their next volume, in their updated manual, they're going to include as an additional criteria for borderline personality disorder, have you ever been around Marilyn Manson? Because I'm starting to see that exposure to Marilyn Manson and borderline personality disorder might have a scientific correlation. So I don't know, be worth following up. Maybe if there's a scientist out there who wants to contact Marilyn Manson and start following him around, might be helpful. No, but seriously, there's just too many borderlines in this mix. And I'm sorry, those of you, you know, I get complaints sometimes from people saying, I have borderline personality disorder and I'm working on it. Great. I'm glad. And you're one of the ones who are not falsely accusing people of shit they didn't do. Then great for you. But we got too many of them out there doing that shit. And I'm going to start calling it out because I see this correlation. You know, Amber Heard, yet another borderline, falsely accusing someone. And I think it's time that we see that there is a correlation between false accusations and borderline personality disorder. And that is not to say that everybody, or even most people who have borderline personality disorder, are out there trying to bring people down on fake Me Too charges. But what I am saying is that there does seem to be a high percentage of false accusers who do have this syndrome. Anyways, but yeah, what I was trying to say to Evan, though, earlier, I digress. Evan, your cult podcast, it was like 2 or 3 hours. It was 2 parts. And they publicized, they tried to publicize the damn thing on the cult podcast, and it just didn't get any traction. I didn't see one article. You're saying all this shit about being in a cult, and Manson's like a cult leader, and you got this Nexium people commiserating with you about, it's just like what we went through, but nobody gave a shit. I just think this well is starting to dry up. And, I'll be the first one to say that I am not always up on all the ins and outs of the legal developments, because it is like a World War I style war of attrition, and I don't always have the attention span to keep up with it. That's why you should check out the Manson cases. That's why you should check out Southern Law, Marilyn Manson Uncanceled, right? But I will say this. I just don't see this legal thing turning out as some big victory for you. The most you can hope for is that Manson takes you through court, and all of this dirty laundry of yours and what you've been up to and your schemes and stuff, they're going to get some degree of media exposure. I know that the mainstream media is covering up for you a lot, but they're going to get some degree of media exposure by the time this trial is done. Same thing for you, Ilma Gore. Much more so for you, Ilma Gore, actually. And so the most you can hope for is this sort of, whimper at the end, right? Not with a bang, with a whimper, kind of a whimper of an ending to all this, where maybe you get a stalemate in court. But I think no matter what, that is going to be a really bad thing for you. And then there's no more positive media coverage to get out of this. You have already, everything has been front loaded. I don't see what else, Evan Rachel Wood, you're going to get, but just this slow deterioration leading then to a trial that is going to be really bad for you in a lot of ways, because no matter how much the media covers up for you, there's going to be information that seeps out. And God help you if it's televised. God help you, both of you. Ilma and Evan. So I don't know. I just think this hand is played out. And I think that some of the ladies are getting smart to that. I don't know what's going on with the Ashley Morgan Smith line. I have no inside information on that. But if that girl does have a brain in her supposedly medical school educated head, then she knows to get off this train. Because Esme Bianco ain't getting the millions that she's going after Manson for. All right? Neither are the other women who still have their lawsuits. All right? Which lawsuits haven't been tossed yet. But anyway. Okay? And this thing is not going to lead, this defamation trial is not going to end in some great victory for you, Evan Rachel Wood and Ilma Gore. If you think that's what's coming down the pike, you are delusional, which, well, we know you're delusional, so anyway. But yeah, I've got more coming out about this case. I'm kind of getting a second wind on it. Also, I wanted to say, I'm going to start wearing some of these shirts. So this is by a guy that you've seen before on my program, Zach Schiffer. This is his company. It's called Augury. And he does these different shirts that are so cool. This one is called The Degradation of Memory, which is especially appropriate because we're talking about accusers in the Manson case who have issues with memory. Anyway, the way that memory fades and degrades with time, that's what we see in this. So you have the skeleton, claws. And I love this, is this a cigarette burn, right? Or is this in the projector, you get the cigarette burns or whatever. Anyway, there's just a lot going on, the dying flowers and everything. I think it's really cool. You should check out his t-shirt company, Zach Schiffer's. He's not paying me to say this. Actually, I had to beg him to send me some shirts. I was like, your stuff is so cool. I'll talk about it in my shows for free, but just you got to send me something. So yeah, I was actually begging him to send me free shirts. So check out his stuff. But yeah, I don't know. I'm just not seeing, even with all the legal twists and turns and everything, I'm just not seeing this pan out for Evan. And that's why I think she's getting so desperate to now drag in, her now dead friend. So good luck with that, Evan Rachel Wood, and good luck with your sci-fi show that made sense in the first season and then went way off the rails and is so off the rails now that the HBO executives are like, shut that motherfucker down. All right. Everybody, as always, like and subscribe. Links are below. Thank you for your support. Bye-bye.